My name is Casey Jennings, and this is my supporting communication and language development presentation. So the age group I am doing are infants, and the ELOF domain is language and literacy. The purpose is to use course knowledge to look at the different developmental stages of an infant and how to support them when it comes to communication and language, connecting these indicators to the Head Start Early Learning Outcomes Framework, and using the appropriate tools to support children through their development and communication and language with the purpose of providing strategies and indicators of an infant's developmental progression. We included the basics of language. Number 1, language is acquired, meaning that is a learned skill. Children learn language from the people around them and their interactions. It is acquired from the outside in, meaning that children speak out loud before they can internalize language. Number 2 is language is socially constructed. The society and culture in which a child lives with will determine the meanings of words and when and where to use different words. And then 3, language is governed by a set of rules. The rules between different languages may differ, but within a single language, those rules will be more or less consistent. We've also included some background information on the Head Start Early Learning Outcomes Framework. The ELOF preschool language and literacy domain is divided into 2 sections, language and communication and literacy. Language and communication includes the development of key language and communication skills, including attending to communication and language from others, using and following appropriate social and conversational rules, and understanding and using a wide variety of words. The language and communication domain encompasses 3 subdomains. One subdomain is attending and understanding, and the other 2 are communicating and speaking and vocabulary. I've included the typical stages of communication and language for infants. So they begin learning in the womb. By the 3rd trimester, infants are able to hear sound of their mother's voice from inside the womb, and they learn from it. From birth to 3 months, they communicate through crying and non-speech sounds such as sneezing and burping. They participate in back and forth interactions, exchanging facial expressions and language sounds. And from 4 to 6 months, they begin to coo, practice long vowels, and vocalization becomes more intentional. From 6 to 9 months, they begin babbling, so making a series of consonant vowel sounds. This allows children to practice making a variety of sounds. Babbling also helps infants practice moving their tongues and mouths in the correct way, helping them produce the same speech sounds they have been listening to for months. I've included these stages of babbling all the way from 4 to 12 plus months. From 9 to 18 months, infants will have intentional communication, such as using gestures, pointing and looking, but point to objects to direct attention to things they want, begin to seek out language-based information. So as you can see, by 36 months, they'll be able to use sentences of 3 or more words. And it starts from like ba to ball, big ball, and playing with the ball, so that it will build on their language and communication skills. The ELOF age-appropriate indicators for developmental progression that connect to those are under the language and communication domain, with the subdomains of attending and understanding. So the goal is that the child attends to, understands, and responds to communication and language from others. So by 9 months, they'll attend to verbal and nonverbal communication by turning toward or looking at a person. Another one is communicating and speaking. The goal is the child uses nonverbal communication and language to engage others in interaction. So by 9 months, they'll use facial expressions like smiling, gestures, sounds, such as cooing or babbling to engage in social interaction. Another indicator is communicating and speaking. So the goal is child uses increasingly complex language in conversation with others. By 9 months, they'll explore sounds common in many languages, such as mama or baba. And finally, there's the emergent literacy that it connects to. The goal is a child handles books and relates them to their stores of information. So from 8 to 18 months, the child will hold books, turn pages, look at the pictures, and use sounds, signs, or words to identify actions or objects in a book. There are individual differences when it comes to language and communication development. So children learn sounds and language through language acquisition, a process that begins in infancy. The child's experiences shapes its language. Children's developmental stages and trajectories rely on factors such as personality, learning delays, environment, interactions, vocabulary, and language use in interactions, and of course being an early or late developer. Different rates of growth are observed through developmental progress and milestones. Some infants talk earlier, some rely on gestures more. Individual context of a child influences their development by the languages being spoken, so if they're dual language learners, the quality and quantity of words spoken, and their socioeconomic status. So having the exposure and access to tools that encourage development is a major factor in a child's communication and language development. One factor found to be linked to early language exposure, like I said, is the socioeconomic status, or SES. It's an economic measure of a family's resources, including a family's income, education, and occupation. Children from low SES families tend to have fewer opportunities to practice language skills, and their vocabularies are more likely to lag behind their more affluent peers. I've included some graphs showing how the average number of words a child is able to produce or say at different points in development, and the trajectories of vocabulary growth from 14 to 20 months of age. I've included some strategies for supporting language development. First one is respond to babbling. So when caregivers respond directly to children's babbles, rapid language learning takes place. The infants will repeat the sounds, respond to questions with a sound or motion. Responding to an infant's babbling can help support their language development and lead to larger vocabularies over time. This connects to communicating and speaking under language and communication. So the child uses nonverbal communication and language to engage others in interaction. So by 9 months, they'll use facial expressions like smiling gestures and sounds such as cooing or babbling to engage in social interactions. I've included a video showing an example of how that back and forth conversation and imitation helps children recognize words, and the educator encourages their learning by repeating the words with some of the child's sounds.
You're going to finish eating?
Yeah.
You are?
Okay.
Okay, finish. Tell parents, say go finish. Say I really want it this time.
Another strategy is word mapping. So connect the word the infant hears to the thing that it refers to. Infants learn new words by mapping, connecting the word that they hear to the thing that it refers to. Children follow other people's eye gazes and gestures to map words onto objects or events. So when they hear a new label, they connect that label to what the adult is looking or pointing at. This connects to attending and understanding, again, under language and communication. So the child learns from communication and language experiences with others. By 9 months, they'll pay attention when familiar adults talk or sign about objects, people, or events during face-to-face interactions, and focusing, making eye contact towards those people or objects being talked about. Third one I have is talking a lot. So just by narrating your interactions and routines can help a child. So you want to talk through getting dressed, changing diapers, comment on children's actions or objects and events, respond to nonverbal communication with words. This is one of the best ways to support language growth, and it connects to emergent literacy. So the child attends to, repeats, and uses some rhymes, phrases, or refrains from stories or songs. So by 9 months, they can listen and attend to culturally and linguistically familiar words or signs in rhymes or songs. And finally, I have talk and parentese, so that's infant-directed speech. You want to exaggerate words and sounds. Listening to parentese can help infants learn. Infants love to listen to it. It gives children an opportunity to practice speaking and learn new words. Back and forth exchanges with infants are a perfect time to use parentese. That's helpful in language growth because the syllables and vowel sounds are accentuated, making it easier for babies to recognize. So this connects to communicating and speaking. Child uses increasingly complex language in conversation with others, so by 9 months they'll explore sounds common in many languages, such as mama or baba. And I've included a image showing the research done on infant-directed speech at 1 year and the correlation with their vocabulary at 2 years. So research shows again and again that early interactions, especially those that include back and forth exchanges, are key to early language learning. These interactions allow adults to customize their responses to children's needs, and this way adults can follow a child's interests through conversations or play, also called serve and return interactions. So in conclusion, leading with a quote from our course material, children learn sounds and language through language acquisition, a process beginning in infancy. This is a natural learning process that occurs through exposure and interactions without explicit instruction. It involves recognizing phonetic patterns, understanding grammar rules, and associating words with meanings, all contributing to their linguistic competence. To acquire new sounds and words, it is important to expose children from the moment they're in the womb to being born. For the first few months of life, infants can tell the difference between all of the sounds of all of the languages spoken worldwide. Their experiences begin to shape what connections form in their brains as they learn language. The more parents and educators interact with infants and young children using a wide range of words, sounds, and creating intentional interactions, they can learn and develop when it comes to language and communication. The more exposure to language, the more developmental progression a child will make. Early interactions, especially those that include back and forth exchanges, are key to language learning. These interactions allow adults to customize their responses to children's needs, providing serve and return interactions, which follows a child's interests through conversations or play. Language learning can happen anywhere and at any time. As an educator, I will apply the knowledge from the course content and ELOF to create intentional interactions with children, helping with language learning and communication, such as face-to-face interactions, and creating more back-and-forth interactions. I know that the more exposure infants have to language, the more they will learn and have the tools needed to reach developmental goals. I've included a list of references used throughout my slideshow. Thank you.